The ayes are 63, the noes are 56. The motion is agreed to. The question now is that Clause 8 stand. Grant Robertson.
Mr Chair, Clause 8 is a continuation of what's clearly the agenda behind this bill. It's not this rhetoric about choice. Mr Henaray's excellent work that he did as the leader of Māori Pacific to give student associations the choice of whether they would be compulsory or voluntary, that's been taken away tonight in this bill. And we have a further example of that, Mr Chair, in Clause 8. Because what Clause 8 does is if you're enrolling at a private training establishment, there is now no way that a private training establishment is able to give you information about student association fees. So the agenda is not about choice, the agenda is about, that's exactly what it says, Mr Henaray, that's exactly what it says, and that's because the agenda of those promoting this bill is not about choice, it's about the destruction of student associations. And one way of doing that is to make sure that information about student association fees is now not available to those people who are enrolling at a private training establishment. And Mr Chair, this clause is instructive in relation to the whole view about the question of what would be possible to ensure that we could get an enduring settlement around the question of student association membership. And members of this side of the House know that in the discussions that took place in and around the Select Committee, that it was quite possible that an enduring settlement could be found. And one of those ways would be around what is possible in terms of withdrawing from membership, as noted in the title of this particular clause, around withdrawal of membership. And one possibility that was floated in that debate was the question of an opt-out style clause, a Kiwi Saver style clause, that would actually allow student associations, when people enrol as part of their enrolment, the very point of student associations, it's part of being a student, that you would be able to opt out of that if that was your choice. Now, that was a possible compromise or solution to make sure that we weren't, as each government, as a national-led government or a Labour-led government was elected, we weren't simply swapping around over the question of membership in student associations. But the National Party walked away from that deal. They walked away from the possibility that we might be able to have something around withdrawal of membership that's noted within the title of this particular clause. And so, Mr Chair, what this clause does is emphasise the point that the agenda being driven by the ACT Party is not actually about choice. It's fundamentally about destroying students' associations. It's not about the students actually having access to quality services. It's not about students having the ability to have advocates. It's about taking to students' associations. It's an ideological agenda. Mr Henaray interjects, as he has throughout this debate, it's about choice. This bill takes away choice, Mr Henaray. This bill takes away choice. It's a remarkable thing to have Tau Henaray interjecting about a change to a bill that he created. He's now swapped over completely. He's flicked the switch, and now he's decided the bill that he brought in is fascism. The bill that he brought in. Does Mr Henaray remember when he was the leader of Māori Pacific? Does he remember? He doesn't remember when he was the leader of Māori Pacific, and he shepherded in the clause that we are tonight, the government and the ACT Party are taking away the choice of students' associations as to whether they are compulsory or voluntary. The Auckland University Students' Association went through the process, Mr Henaray, the process that Mr Henaray helped create, and they decided after a referendum that they would go voluntary. That was the choice that students' associations and students had. Tonight, this bill takes away that choice. It takes away the choice of students' associations to actually decide whether they're voluntary or compulsory. Mr Henaray is saying it gives people choice. The option taken by the Auckland University Students' Association is no longer possible with the bill that has been put through tonight. That is taking away choice. And what this clause is essentially doing is making it impossible for information about Students' Association fees to be provided to people who are enrolling at private training establishments. And one of the things that was discussed in the Select Committee was even if this bill went through, Mr Chair.
Grant Robertson.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Even if this bill went through, would it be possible for students at least to be made aware of the services that were available, made aware of what students' associations do? If members on the other side of the House were genuine about the fact that they think students' associations do good work, which they told us during the Select Committee process that they believed, then they would have said, all right, we will give information to students when they enrol about what a students' association does. That would be a fair choice, wouldn't it, Mr Henare? That would be a real choice, a choice made when people have all the information available to them about a students' association. Well, what Clause 8's doing is saying that if you're enrolling at a private training establishment, you will not get all of the information about a students' association. You will not know what the fees are, and that means that the real agenda of this bill is exposed in this clause. The real agenda is to shut down students' associations, to not give people enrolling, in this case at a private training establishment, information about a students' association. And why would the people on the other side of the House not want to do that? Why would they take away an informed choice for students? Why would they take away an informed choice? When students arrive at an institution, they don't know everything about what a students' association provides. They don't know about the welfare services, the advocacy services, the sport and recreation services, the clubs, the health and counselling services. Students don't know about that when they show up on the first day. And if they were to make an informed choice about whether or not they were going to join a students' association, as Mr Henare seems to want them to do, why would they not be given information about a students' association? And Clause 8 is taking away that information. So there's the question for Mr Henare. Should students be given an opportunity to make an informed choice about whether they're going to join a students' association under this new regime? And an informed choice would mean students would be given information when they enrolled about the services of students' associations, about the fees that they need to pay, and then they'd make the choice. Isn't that an informed choice, Mr Henare? Shouldn't students be given that option? But no, not even under this new, brave new voluntary world are students going to be given information. In fact, the ability to do that for private training establishments is actually completely removed by this clause. So the members on the other side of the House stand up and tell us that this is about choice. That is rubbish. If this bill was about choice, about informed choice, we wouldn't have this clause in it. If this bill was about real choice for students' associations, we would be sticking with Mr Henare's excellent work that he did in the late 1990s, that he's had a memory lapse about. He's forgotten about Māori Pacific when he was in there making sure that I did say it properly. Māori Pacific, when he was leading that party, he said that students' associations should continue and be able to advertise themselves, be available to advocate for students. And yet today, Mr Henare arrives in this House and says, no, I've completely changed my mind from when I did that 10 years ago. I've completely changed my mind, and now students are not going to have the ability to have proper representation, to have proper advocates, and they're not even, under Clause 8, be able to have information about student association fees. They're not even going to be able to have information about the services that student associations provide. This bill is not about choice, Mr Chair. This bill is about an ideological obsession of the ACT Party now being facilitated by the National Party. And National Party members who sat through the Select Committee process and heard the submissions of all bar one of the tertiary institutions in New Zealand who opposed this bill, because the tertiary institutions know the value of students' associations. The students who came before us who know the value of students' associations. The National Party members of that Select Committee know that. And by the end of that submission process, Colin King, Alan Peachy, Louise Upston, they all knew that this bill should not pass in its current form. They knew that, and they knew that there were possibilities of creating an enduring solution that meant that this wouldn't come back. But no, because of a deal between the ACT Party and the National Party, this bill has been promoted by National members even when they know it is wrong. Well, there's the deeply mature backbench of the National Party, taking the issue seriously, Mr Bridges. Get up on your feet and take a call.
The Honourable Pete Hodgson.
Mr Chairman, I